I think it's about time for a hobby house update in the yard. So as you can see, the front yard of the hobby house has gotten kind of feral, which I am totally okay with. This little front garden, if y'all remember from last year, I tried, you know, mini row cropping and doing a very specific certain way. And at this point, I just kind of let it go for another year, and all of our chicory that we have over here, this kind of blue purpley flower thing, AKA Italian dandelion. It is an edible, but it is a very high mineral content edible. Came from Europe. So it's not something that I really eat, but it is a good medicine food. You can see why it's called Italian dandelion. The leaves look like dandelion leaves. But yeah, they're very, especially this time of year, oh yeah, very bitter. I'm not gonna be able to continue talking if I try to eat that. We also have a lot of asters in there. You can see the flowers that are almost head height at this point. Those are wild asters. There's more coming up in there. We do have some, there's a couple of other flowers, but we also have currants hiding in here, some black currants and some black raspberries. So while we're just talking, it's been really dry this year, and I have not watered this any, but I've been eating them, is why we only have a few left, but they are still delicious. Oh yeah, these are ready to come off. They just fall off. But this currant bush has been doing us well. Our jujube tree died, and it's coming back from the rootstock down there, but the rootstock is a different type. This would be the Lee variety. The Lang did fine. Both the Lees, those currants are good. Both the Lees died that I had one here and one at the family house. Both of them died. So evidently something with this last winter didn't agree with it fully. While I got that currant flavor in my mouth, I'm gonna grab a black raspberry and then we can walk into the backyard. So the black raspberry is a native. It will tip root. So the plant will lean over and then you'll get these. So it'll tip root. The rest of it will die back, which this was the leader that tip rooted. And then you get new plants. And these things, well, I didn't water it any. I didn't water this front garden any this year. And yet, the black raspberry, of course, being a native, it dealt with the severe drought. I think last I checked, we were, 8 inches behind in rain until a couple of days ago. We got 4 inches of rain all at once, just boom, boom. It definitely came down. Another tip root over here, the black raspberry, you can see that this is what we call a primocane. This is the new growth from this year. Let's see. I believe that tip rooted last year, and so this is the primocane off the tip root. And then the floricanes, which are last year's ones, are the ones that produce the fruit. So the one that's kind of overstretching here. I see a couple of more delicious little berries. I'm just gonna eat those. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. And besides that, in here we have a couple of other things. There's some of the tall grasses that are kind of coming up, and I'm gonna pull those and transplant them later, but that is pretty much the front garden. There's some other things I could talk about, but let's head to the back garden instead and see what's going on back there. So as you can see, this side path is growing over. Again, all the wild asters. And then this spot, we just covered it all in cardboard and chips. As we walked back, you probably saw that big pile of chips that we had. That's from the tree that got taken down. All the tops, we chipped them and kept them. A little bit of corn coming up over here. I just put in some, what's it called? Some Cherokee, some painted Cherokee or something like that. It's a very drought tolerant and also pretty fast. It's like an 80-day or 90-day corn and very, very drought tolerant. So we'll see what happens with that. I planted it late. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. The elderberry that I found in a neighbor's yard that it was gonna get killed. So kind of helped it out there. And then as we go back, all this little ground cover that you see is pretty much all edibles that I threw out. So we've got, all these little guys coming up. That's borage there. We have a lot of, let's see, turnips, daikon radish, purple top radish, just a whole mix of things, a whole mess of things. I forget what this bush is here, but this is, I believe, a native or an edible. There's so many things I've actually lost track. And once they bloom, then we get to see what they are. Then I also have Coreopsis seed that I threw out, and so all over these little plants here, this is a Coreopsis, a native wildflower. The yellow blooms, actually, here's one that I transplanted from another yard, so this is what the Coreopsis looks like. And that's going to be all over. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of those plants when we start looking real deep. But so far, the 2 peach trees that I have right back on this area are doing really well. And everything else pretty much that I put in is doing extremely well. A lot of wildflowers and edibles just kind of mixed in all of this. As we come down this way more, we get into more and more of the daikon radish. All of this is daikon radish. There's a few other things mixed in here. You know, we got some fireweed that I haven't taken care of yet. You know, a couple of bits of regular style grass, but this right here is the daikon radish. You can actually see it coming up. That's the radish root. And these guys will get huge. That's kind of like a baby sized one. They will get absolutely huge. Oh, my Cleveland bar. This is what I've been using to dig out stuff with. I need to make sure it doesn't rust in the ground. There we go. But same, I've been throwing the same seed mix back here. I didn't plant any of the little stuff. I threw some seed out, and what sticks. Working out pretty. Cover for us. And there's still, you know, what you may consider weeds here and there, and as we go back it needs more and more work, but there's thousands and thousands of radishes and wildflowers and everything back here that's hard to tell right now. It just looks like a weedy mess, but maybe you see all those little pink and white flowers. That's all radish that's coming up right now. Now, if we can work safely through here, come to the other side. I don't know, grab the camera for you. You got it? All right. So come around here, we've got this berm. All these things that look like tall grasses, that's actually, it's either rye or wheat. I forget what I planted. I just threw it out and it took a hold. You know, there's a couple of things here and there like this. Technically. But other than that, everything is going to be corn, radishes, you know, wheat or rye or whatever it is, and then just general natives that I've interdispersed into here. The pond is really full. With the last rain that we had, the 4 inches, it really raised it up. Something growing here that I didn't plant this. I'm guessing a bird brought it in. I have no clue what this is, but it looks like it might be a cattail. That'll be interesting. Yeah, I think that's a cattail. We've already got, maybe you can see the dragonflies coming through here. We've got dragonflies that are guarding both of them, which means that they're laying eggs, or it's a male that's guarding, and so the females can come in and lay eggs. But I have definitely seen them lay eggs that kind of like flit on the water. It's a pretty cool thing to watch. So we don't have any mosquitoes in here at all. Actually, the mosquitoes in this part of the yard are less than they've ever been the entire time that I've had this place, even though we have literally standing water. It's kind of cool. So there's enough birds, there's enough mosquito eaters or whatever the case. You know, I came back here, it's been about 2 weeks, and I scared up more than 100 birds. They just, whoo, they all flew out. It was kind of cool to see. And because so many birds are coming in, we're getting a lot of nitrogen deposited in here. And if you look really closely at plants, you're gonna see bird crap all over everything. It's, you know, some people may say yuck, and I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, they're depositing all the good stuff. Now, hopefully there won't be a lot of weed seed in there, and as I grow all of this up and give more and more seed for the birds to eat, they're hopefully gonna have less of the invasives and more of what we would, you know, quote unquote want out here. But this line of trees are cherry, everything is doing good this year. We didn't have any fruit produced, but it's also, you know, maybe the second year that this stuff is in, and it takes a couple of years to establish your roots. So it's going along pretty well. I also planted I've planted so much this year. I've really planted so much. Chokeberries, just a whole bunch of raspberries. We have golden raspberries. I put out, I think, about 35 raspberries this year, of the Ann and the double yellow, I think is what they're called. So they're both golden raspberry types, but one of them is a single bearing and the other one bearing plant, so we should have a few different harvests throughout the year, and combined with the black raspberries that I have, and there's some blackberry that I put over there, we'll start to have a lot of berries, which are delicious, of course. Now, coming over to this little pond right here, it's probably one of my favorite spots to just kind of sit, you know, and we've got stuff planted on all edges. We're gonna have to kind of keep this short, but this is one of my favorite areas. We're getting a little bit of algae on the pool right now. I'm not putting any, you know, additives on my yard, so I'm not exactly sure why the algae is coming up, other than it's still very, very full sun. But this is an elderberry that I transplanted from the side of the house and pulled it over here, and I figure, oh, there's no way it's gonna flower this year because I really hacked up the roots and it got transplanted. But it's elderberry. Elderberry loves everything of Missouri, I guess. So that's doing really good. We have some aromatic aster right underneath it. And here we go. Here's the daikon radish that's coming up. I think this is radish. It's hard for me to tell sometimes between radish and turnip. Ooh, boy, that's radish. Yeah, that's radish. All of this is pretty much radish coming up. There is some carrot. We do have turnips in there. There's a lot of things. We got the borage flowers right here. Borage tastes kind of like cucumbers. Also have a lot of red clover that I threw out as well. Get a nitrogen fixer. And of course, again, we've got a lot of corn just kind of interdispersed in here. All kinds of stuff. But you can see all this green edge all in here. This is all food, every bit of it. This is not just weeds coming up. This is all food, which is really cool. Not that I'm looking to like survive off of it or eat it, but if I'm gonna have weeds, may as well be food. Except for like the one lamb's ear up there, but that's fine. I'm okay with some lamb's ear here and there. So yeah, well, I still need to plant these. A couple of figs. Figs don't really survive very well in Missouri, so you have to like bury them every winter. So I'm still trying to find a good spot for that. But let's check out this other yard too. May as well while we're here. Just watch your head here. That's poison ivy. This is my deer gate. It keeps the deer out of the yard. So this still needs to be worked on, but it's fenced in. Overflow from that pond stretches around here. And again, all stuff that I've planted in here. I'm currently soaking the yard in, as you can see, but this comes back and it waters all of this back here, and we have grapes planted. I've got a cherry tree here, we got a cherry tree over there. Underneath those cherries we have all kinds of stuff. Let's see, some hazelnuts. We got hazelnuts all over, about 25 of them planted this year, and then some more of those raspberries that I told you about, the gold raspberries down in here, and then more of the cover crop stuff that I've been pointing out everywhere. But yeah, the raspberries seem to like it here. I just kind of threw them all together because they were in a tight clump and they were starting to sprout, and I had to do something with them. And then a little bit of more coreopsis here. You can see how I just kind of pull everything together, give them little tight bunches, you know, put them in closer probably than most people would expect and most people would want in a garden. But what I want to do is get a really dense planting of stuff so that they can start to kind of outcompete everything else. That's at least the goal. And it's just more and more the same. I've got chestnut trees interplanted. We have a couple of more peaches. We've got more hazelnuts. We've got more of the raspberry bushes down there. I've got onions and garlic just all over the place. And yeah, it's been honestly a lot of fun. Just a little creative outlet here, something a little new and different. And of course, there's still a lot of work to be done. As you can tell, the fence is in disrepair. There's still a lot of, you know, weeds on the edge, invasives. But what I'm going to be able to do is harvest all of that invasive on the fence line and just basically have plant mass. And I can use that for mulch if I want. I can use that to throw down and, you know, smother out weeds if I want. So as frustrating as it may be to see, you know, this fence line and be like, oh, you know, how are we going to keep it beaten back? If you think about it just as little plant material, you know, plant mass for us to use for nutrition, for everything else, then it suddenly doesn't seem nearly as overwhelming. I think to myself, hey, that's a lot of green material I can harvest here. So it's kind of a mindset thing, I guess. So there we go. We'll just, I think, stop there. There's more I could show you in the front yard over there. I've skipped over probably 75% of the garden, but you can kind of see what's going on. I'm really enjoying it, and it's kind of turning into something that's not the bare grass lawn that I used to have. So if you got any questions about stuff, gardening or life in general, leave your comments down below. Do my best to get to them. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.